Robert Scott Bell Show.
Many years ago, when working with a homeopathic company out of Atlanta, we were sued by a group of what I call them pharmaceutical medical mafia minions. We never were able to track back their money, but certainly we could find some way that these people are funded by Big Pharma because they're afraid of homeopathy, the competition that it poses, because it's the only legally recognized drug system in America that has the ability to compete head-to-head in terms of labeling directness on claims for disease and ailments and symptoms other than allopathic pharmaceutical drugs approved by FDA. So they were worried. And so they sued us. They sued a lot of homeopathic companies. And my guest now to talk about this and one particular strategical blunder, apparently, on the attacks on a company called SnoreStop is Rick Jaffe. He wasn't the lawyer on the case, but he's going to comment on. Rick, welcome back to the Robert Scott Bell Show.
Well, thanks. Thank you very much for having me, Robert. I appreciate it.
Well, Rick is known to be a health freedom supporting attorney and has done good work over the years. We appreciate him here. Now, Rick, I want to ask you a question strategically, right? When we were attacked years ago, they were going under the Prop 65, anything they could do to attack. Oh, it doesn't work. There's no science. And I looked at this, and I kind of have a guerrilla lawyerly tactic that I'm not a lawyer, so I can look outside the lawyerly box. And we wrote something in response that remanded the court, from the state attack on us. We were in Atlanta at the time, out of California, this thing. And we remanded it to federal court in Atlanta. And they just dropped it. They said it's not worth pursuing. And so I didn't even want to get into it because it's just such a waste of time and energy and money. But if you're in California, not a lot of escape plans. But could this have been removed to federal court before, instead of battling it on the state level?
Well, removal is an excellent idea because for a lot of reasons, the justice you get is normally better in federal court than state court. And so the issue for removal is primarily where the two parties are located. So you can remove a case, a defendant can remove a case if basically if the plaintiff is out of state, if you'd have diversity jurisdiction.
Correct. Diversity, that was the word we used, and it was successful, of course, and there were federal issues involved because homeopathy is regulated at that level. But in this case with SnoreStop, apparently they are a California company.
Well, California company, and the plaintiffs was the Newport Litigation Group. Well, I don't know where the plaintiff resides, but if she's California, then you wouldn't have diversity jurisdiction, so you'd have to try on some kind of federal question jurisdiction.
So they went after SnoreStop based on the claims that homeopathy is bunk. There's no science. It can't possibly work. It's not plausible. So a materialistic reductionist viewpoint on the cellular level was their main form of attack. And apparently SnoreStop won at the basic court level.
Right. Well, it was a really complicated case, and I wrote about this because it was in my blog because it was so complicated. So what happened was the suit was based on California law, the California, false advertising and unfair competition law. And, there are really, there are two kinds of laws, or there are two kinds of remedies. There's something called a lack of substantiation claim, but in California, only the Attorney General can make a claim against a company that their product lacks adequate substantiation. The only way a private party can sue, a company is basically for affirmative false advertising. So they sued for affirmative false advertising under state law. So they were probably stuck in federal court, in state court, and their theory was that homeopathy doesn't work. That the law of infinitesimals doesn't really work. It doesn't make any sense, and the law of similars doesn't work. And they had some retired pharmacologist testify who wasn't a homeopath, but just said that
it's not plausible, basically.
Yeah, it's not plausible. Right. It's not consistent with current scientific theory. Now, I think the basis of the lawsuit was that the company was making a claim of efficacy based on one or two scientific studies, primarily one scientific studies. And, basically their experts said, well, the scientific study was poor methodology. It's not valid, and it's maybe explained by the placebo effect, whatever benefit it had. So, and it was a bizarre case, and because of the legalese of it. So what happened is you had this expert testify for the plaintiff, And he said all this stuff, all this anti-homeopathy things, and he said the study is no good. And then what happened was after the plaintiff closed, you have two parties. The plaintiff presents its case,
yes,
and then typically what happens is if the defendant doesn't feel that the plaintiff has made their case, they'll move
Rick,
to throw out the case.
Hold that thought, because we've got to find out what happened in that initial case where they won on the lower level, why it went to the appellate court, and why they were ruled against there, and what does it mean for homeopathy across the country, not just in California, and why you want to pay attention.
Live around the world.
The Robert Scott Bell Show.
Robert Scott Bell.
All right, Rick.
Okay.
Good job.
So anyway, here's the bottom line.
Hold on. Don't rush, because we're on break now. I want to make sure our radio audience is going to hear, because you teased it really well.
Okay, good.
But I also want to commend you. You rolled with me beautifully when I threw out the scenario, and you explained it very well. So thank you for that. I love that.
Yeah. So my pleasure. But anyway, it gets a little in the weeds, but I think I can explain it in a way that people understand, and see why it was kind of like a bizarre case, even though they won, the green won in the lower court. The guy didn't make any sense. That's why, a lot of times you don't get good justice in state court. Right,
exactly. I think in the Apple, and we're going to have to review some of this again coming back in for our radio audience, but for those watching on YouTube right now, a little sneak preview of where we'll go. Is there a potential, just strategically, I'm just asked this, now that they're at that appellate court and they lost, they have to go to the Supreme Court of the state, or is it possible then they can now make it a federal issue? That this somehow, their ruling violates the federal supremacy, for instance, on regulation in this case?
Well, I mean, it's an interesting argument. I think they ought to look at that, but I think their next thing is in California, there's no direct appeal. You have what's called a petition for certiorari, so it's called discretionary review. So, and then it gets complicated because the lawyer, it's almost like a soap opera, because I've heard indirectly from Dana that the company was only told about the decision after the time to file the cert petition expired, because the lawyer kind of like disappeared or had a health problem or something. So it's really messy and ugly.
So you're going to have to go back on issues like our lawyer was incompetent and did not inform us.
Yes, that's exactly right. I think that's going to be necessary, because you only have 10 days to file the cert petition. From what I hear, they missed the deadline because the lawyer disappeared.
Really?
Yeah.
So it sounds like a potential inside job. Now, as far as the impact that this may have, as far as precedent in California and outside of California, do you have an opinion on that? Because it's something we want to talk about.
Yeah, I do, and it's complicated. And look, a lot of people are trying to lessen the impact. The report, the decision itself, the appellate court decision, is not published. And if you know what that means, it's not for publication. So technically it can't be cited as precedent
in other states.
But really, or even in California.
Oh, okay.
But so that's good, but that's not really the problem. The problem is, it's like, with all due respect to my profession, it's like blood in the water.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean. So
I do. I get it. Yeah. So
it's bad. It's bad. There's no way around it. It's bad.
Right. And the irony here, of course, is I'm a big supporter of the concept of the 10th Amendment and state superiority when the federal government exceeds its constitutional limitations, right? And so we've seen 29 states in the District of Columbia nullify federal prohibition of cannabis, for instance.
Absolutely. Good for them.
And I have argued that on the state level, we could see some nullification of FDA when it comes to dietary supplements in states that are friendly to it, to say, hey, you know what? There's good science. This is a freedom of speech issue. The federal government has no authority to suppress speech because they say it's commercial. And I feel like that could be a winning scenario moving forward, because we've seen the attempts at attacking the bureaucratic oligarchy headlong, much less replacing Congress critters with other Congress critters. So I feel like on some level, California could set precedent in a negative way toward homeopathy that is really of a concern. But I don't know that it would be every state would do the same thing, because every state's different in terms of how they view these things.
Right. Well, but look, when you have a couple judges saying that a plaintiff has proven that homeopathy is inconsistent with current science and has no scientific basis, and you can't say really anything good about it, that's a bad thing. I mean,
Sure.
you know, so you don't like those kinds of decisions, you know, on the books, regardless of whether it's technically a published decision or not, because it just, you know, these aren't real lawsuits. These are just lawyer lawsuits
Yeah,
in
this
order
is a
to generate
money-making
legal
scheme.
fees.
Exactly.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
I mean, no, there's no injury, there's no harm. These homeopathic remedies, they help some people, they don't help other people. I mean, there's no harm in a
No,
case
it's
like
about
this.
profit venture, and Newport
Yeah.
Group is they're as scummy as they get. They make the lawyers look bad. I mean, it's like
Oh yeah, and it's this prop. They do a lot of, and you know, California, it's a lot of this Prop 62 stuff
or 62 too.
65.
Yeah, 10 seconds. We're coming back
Okay.
live, and Rick, we're going to go right into where we left off.
Okay.
You're ready for that?
Yeah.
All right,
I'll
stand by.
just pick it up.
Crank it up.
Willing to go where the truth takes him. Here's Robert.
You want to stop snoring? How many spouses out there want their spouse to stop snoring? Well, you're going to do drugs, you're going to do surgery, or you're going to do homeopathy. There is a OTC drug called Snore Stop. It is homeopathic. They were sued by a group of lawyerly minions of, I believe, connected to Big Pharma, but then again, they might not be, because it could be all about their profit, utilizing Prop 65 and other tools they have for suits by the people, supposedly, whoever they are, claiming injury. In this case, what injury was it? Oh, they lied to me. Homeopathy can't work because it's just not feasible for it to work. It's not molecular, right? And in the court, lower court decision, the attack in this case on Snore Stop, the bad guys lost, but they appealed. And apparently the bad guys won. Does this set precedent for homeopathy in California, much less the rest of the country? Rick Jaffe is on to continue our discussion. We left off kind of on a cliffhanger. Where were you going with this lower court decision?
Okay, so after the plaintiff closed his case and their plaintiff expert testified, the defendant moved to throw out the case because they said the plaintiff didn't make the case. The judge ruled against the defendant and held that no, the plaintiff's expert said enough that would sustain a verdict. You know, and he criticized the homeopathy, he criticized the study, and that would be enough to basically win the case. So we're going to make you, Mr. Defendant, defend the case and show us the defense, and then I'll decide. So the defense had to put on a case, and they put on a case by way of a very prominent homeopath, Dana Ullman, who's one of the most knowledgeable guys around in homeopathy, but he has no scientific credentials, and he's not a licensed healthcare practitioner like a medical doctor or chiro or anything like that. So he testifies, and after he testifies, the plaintiffs try to exclude him as an expert witness, and the judge grants the motion and finds that Dana is biased and unreliable. So the plaintiffs essentially knocked out the defendant's entire case, and they dismissed the study. And, you know, but the judge still ruled for the defendant for some reason. He ruled that the plaintiff didn't meet its burden of proof, even though he previously said that the defendants had to present a defense. So, you know, any lawyer who would look at that kind of inconsistent decision would think that there's going to be a problem, because if you have enough evidence to make the other side present a defense, and then you knock out the defense, then the plaintiff should win.
So this was
But that didn't
inevitable.
happen.
An appeal would occur, and the appellate court out of San Diego ruled against the homeopathy company, which means what, if anything? You mentioned that this is not a published case where it would set precedent, but lawyers will know about it, and you called it like chum in the water, blood in the water.
That's exactly right.
They're going to be going after
exactly
homeopathy.
Right.
So,
well, and that's right. The issue is not the legal principle of whether, you know, a motion to dismiss, you know, whatever. I mean, who cares about the legal principle? What happened in this case is that, you know, a judge ruled that the plaintiffs made their case showing that homeopathy is invalid, unscientific, and the scientific study was not legitimate, and the decision of the appellate court ultimately is that this company has to pay money to every person who took this stuff, and of course they have to pay legal fees, which could be tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars. So the issue is, doesn't really matter whether some lawyer can cite this opinion, but it's not good for Dana, because he wasn't defended adequately at the lower court, and it's not good for the company, and it's not good because it sets a precedent that you could sue someone for a class action, and a lot of these cases have settled before quietly, but this case went to trial, and it's bad. I mean, it just, in my view, it's horrible for the industry, and the industry has to really step up and I think do a better job next time to defend these kinds of cases.
Rick, my friend Dr. Frank King and King Bio was involved in this suit, and they successfully defended it. Probably spent six figures in their defense and won. And it was referenced, I think, in this case, perhaps. It
was. But here's the issue. The issue was, and this is how the thing has evolved in the last 15 years. The people in King Bio, they argued successfully that if something is registered in the pharmacopoeia homeopathy, that's proof that it works. And this case and a couple recent cases have taken that issue on and said just because it's in the pharmacopoeia doesn't mean it works. It's still not FDA approved. So the pass, in effect, homeopathic remedies kind of got a pass based on this King Bio case. They're not getting a pass anymore. They're being required to have the level of proof of either a drug or a health claim. And that's a little disconcerting because most of these, remedies don't have that level of proof. So the question is, what can you say about it? And the more disturbing thing about it is there's kind of like a catch-22, because with a homeopathic remedy, you have to give what the indication is.
By law.
Right?
Yes.
Right? Yeah. So you have to have an indication. But if your indication isn't supported by convincing scientific evidence, and you can be sued for false advertising for saying that it works to stop snores, even though you have to say, snore or something else,
sure.
That's a problem.
So, Rick, what do we do here? There's a suggestion on this GoFundMe page that people that love homeopathy may want to support a next legal maneuver for Snore Stop. Is that what you're suggesting too? What do you think?
Well, it could be, but if they still have the right to petition for certiorari before the California Supreme Court, for sure. But look, the case is going to go back to the Superior Court for remedies, and I think they're going to have to fight it in Superior Court because there's now going to be the damage part of it. So gotcha. Maybe wouldn't it be wonderful? I'll tell you where I'd like to see the battle lie. Man, wouldn't it be wonderful if these plaintiffs' lawyers got like $1 in legal fees?
Yeah. That would be...
Because that's what all these cases are about. They're not about anything. I mean, there's no serious injury. It's just these are lawyer opportunity lawsuits.
Making money. If they issued $1 as the reward for all of that effort, they would stop them immediately. It would be over. You're right. You're right, Rick. All right, no, let's move on. By the way, the links are up in the show notes to robertscottbell.com. You see it, and there's even if you want to go fund or help the Snore Stop company to do some more legal stuff there. We've got links to, of course, Rick Jaffe, Esquire, ESQ.com, and he's got some great articles and blog posts about this. One of the things is about Dr. Bob Sears. The LA Times apparently put out a big hit piece on not just Bob Sears, but perhaps every doctor in the state of California who dares to do medicine under their license. They are allowed to write exemptions to vaccination that are no longer allowed under philosophical or religious pretense, if you will. And they're saying, oh my gosh, it's up by 0.5%, these exemptions. Well, what do you think, that suddenly the people that had religious and philosophical exemptions were not going to fight to keep their kids away from vaccines? That's why it's up. It's the same number of people not vaccinating. But at the same time, now they're saying we need to clamp down on those doctors. Are they suggesting that they should practice medicine from the legislative branch?
Wow. Well, it's a big mess now in California. That's right. This LA Times article, it's called "Why Hasn't California Cracked Down on Anti-Vaccination Doctors? A Loophole in State Law." And, that doesn't sound like journalism to me. I mean, that seems like an opinion piece.
That's not a loophole, though. It's written right into the law, and they said it, that this is not going to be, we're not going to investigate doctors who are licensed and doing, but now they're talking about, yes, In fact, Dickie Pan wants to somehow make it, I guess, scary enough for doctors that they're going to stop doing it altogether.
Well, yeah, and by the way, he was just quoted Friday, just a couple of days ago. He's quoted as saying that because he's a little frustrated that the board isn't going after these docs fast enough, he now wants to try to amend the malpractice laws or the negligence laws to make the doctors and the parents liable in case there are these breakouts, and they're unvaccinated people. So that's a scary thing. He wants to have people bring negligence actions against unvaccinated kids, and and that's just part two of. And then of course, a few months ago, what he tried to do, they introduced some legislation, some nonsense children's rights legislation, which was like a 10-year process by which to create rights for children, and then allow people to sue on behalf of the children against their parents for not vaccinating them.
Absolutely incredible. And California is the same state where I think they made it viable for teenagers to sell their body for sex without being criminally liable for those behaviors. I mean, it's so bizarre, California. That's why I say get out now. Get out now while you can.
Yeah, it's hard. So, I mean, I think part of the reason for this article is just the frustration that the pro-vaxxers are having, that the medical board isn't acting fast enough. And, the simple of the update is that the Bob Sears case is going to hearing in late May. And for what it's worth, in working on the case, I have two interesting observations. The first is I've talked to a lot of academic pediatricians and just people involved, academic healthcare people, and I'm getting a lot of sympathy for Bob's position, but the academics, people affiliated with the UCs, they're afraid to come forward because of intimidation, loss of funding, or loss of.
Well, listen, all they have to do is mention the name Peter Duesberg, and then they'll learn quickly to shut up, because this man is like one of the brightest young scientists years and years ago. He's got
for AIDS, right? He said that AIDS wasn't. HIV wasn't AIDS, right? I remember that.
Correct.
But anyway,
they shut them down on funding, and that's what they teach others. If you go outside the medical box that we say you can only look for this, then you're going to lose your funding.
Well, that's right. So I find it interesting that I talked to one of the biggest, epidemiologists in the country, who's just done groundbreaking work, and he supports us and all, but he won't come testify for us because, as big as he is, he's just afraid of retaliation. So I'm hearing that a lot. Mm-hmm. And the other interesting thing is the case that's going to hearing so far involves a child who had two fairly significant adverse events when he only had half of the vaccines. The first round of vaccines, he had 3 of the 6 or something like that, and he had 2 bad reactions. And what was interesting is both times the physicians, the pediatricians, told the parents not to take the kid to the emergency room. Even though, at one point, the kid was catatonic for days. For me, I don't care what the pediatrician would have said. I would have taken my kid to the emergency room.
Sure.
So, and what I've heard, what I keep on seeing is that pediatricians aren't telling the families, in the event of an adverse event, to get it worked up. So The other observation I have is I think the adverse events are severely underreported because the pediatricians are dissuading patients to get adequate medical care.
Listen, California, Richard Pan, keep it up, because you're destroying the medical profession. Whatever integrity they had, you're going to destroy it, and people will stop seeing doctors. So keep it up. Back after this.
Who'd you say that masked man was?
It's a bird. It's a plane.
It's Robert Scott Bell.
Here I come to save the day.
All right, Rick, good job. Well done, my friend.
Okay, thanks a lot, Robert. I really appreciate it. Anytime.
Have you been engaged in the Bob Sears case at all, or you just been writing commentary about it?
No, I'm the lawyer. I'm doing all the experts.
Okay, I just wanted to be sure I got that right. Okay.
Yeah,
no, great appearance. You're really clear in your communication out there, and that's so very important with these complex issues. So thanks for being on board, and we'll get this out to you. Super Don will probably cut it into maybe we need to have a separate MP3 for putting this out there for the people that are most affected.
All right, and I'll put it up on my website too and publicize it and whatnot, because they're important issues, especially the homeopathy case. I don't want to hammer, Carlos too bad. But I mean, he really screwed up the case.
Dude,
I mean,
he's been in rough shape for years. I'm telling.
Yes,
Just,
and I didn't even know he still practiced. I
did.
heard he, I mean, I didn't know he's still on this case, but. I don't think he's practicing. I don't think he has a license anymore. But I don't know. Just to have Dana Altman up there alone when you have some conventional
that's
scientists.
not a good plan. And I think that he might have been gotten to in some way. It's my assessment. Controlled opposition in a sense.
Well, you know what it is. I mean, I believe in Occam's razor, and between you and me, I heard I've heard a number of other clients of mine, complain about him. He just dropped.
Oh, I know some. I know some as well. So
you know what I mean. So I think what happened is I think he had some physical and mental issues, and it's ironic because he did the King Bio case and did a phenomenal job.
Yeah. Well, not anymore. So Rick, appreciate you very much, and stay in touch, and we'll get you the MP3 connection or link for you. Okay.
All right. Thank you very much, Robert.
All right. Take care. All right, Daniel, clear the line if you don't mind. And do we have any audio clips for this last segment, Super Don?
No. Let's do upcoming events coming in.
Okay. And let's see. Oh, you just clicked the what did you do? You downloaded the app?
Yeah, it's a screenshot.
Okay.
It's actually pretty cool because we got lumped in with the conservative talk radio category. Which,
is that horrible? I mean, I think there are more conservatives that listen.
Yeah. But anyway, you just open it up and it shows the list, and if you click on Robert Scott Bell, it just automatically plays the show. It's very, very easy. All
right, folks. So those of you watching, we'll say this when we go back on radio, Super Don, let everybody know about it. For instance, on Fridays, our Friday show, we typically try to pre-record, so I have a day and a half off, right? Because what do I do? I'm crazy. I do this 6 days a week. Super Don, 7 days a week. He's more insane than I am. If that was possible. And so on that day, when you don't have necessarily the ability to watch it on YouTube, like a lot of you like to do, if you have this Talk app from TalkStream Live, what is it called? Talk Right?
Talk Right. Yep.
Okay. So maybe we should add that information in for folks.
I'm going to start putting that in the notes on a regular basis. I did just put it out on Facebook.
Excellent. Excellent.
Yeah.
All right. That's cool. So that way they can listen in on their
like
phones.
I said, I downloaded it. I opened the app, and it immediately gave me a list of all the shows that are live right now. I just scrolled down to our show, and I touched it, and it just popped up and started playing.
Excellent.
It's that simple.
Excellent. All right, Rick was good. He did a great job in a very complex scenario, but I agree with him on this. There's some messes that they're having to clean up. And look, Dana is a great hero for homeopathy, but you can't I wouldn't put myself on the stand if I was a lawyer for homeopathy, because they want credentials. They want all the official stuff, right? Or else they get to dismiss it because they bought into that religion. And if you're not a member, I get it. That's why you want to stay out of there as much as you can. So that's a big thing. So do we have any fun play game songs for this final segment as well or not?
No.
Okay.
We just have boring, unfun songs.
Unfun songs. Okay.
Unfun.
Unfun. Unfunyuns. All right. Let's see what's going on. Any comments on that? No, it's been slow on the comments. Everybody's quiet there.
Yep.
This is kind of a heady subject when you've got lawyerly discussion of attacks on homeopathy. I get that, but we got to cover it. We cover all things health and healing, and from time to time we got to go there too. So 20 seconds. And Daniel, how long are you in the office today?
Oh, for quite some time.
Oh.
Till 9.
Oh man. All right. Well, bundle up tonight. You guys are getting sub-freezing weather now.
Oh yeah.
I'm getting ready to plant strawberries in your face.
All right, here we go.
Crank it up.
The Robert Scott Bell Show.
Just a reminder, folks, it is Immune Challenge season in the Northern Hemisphere. How about getting some Beta-1 3D Glucan from Better Way Health? They've got a big deal coming up Thanksgiving week. That's when they go, Black Friday, Cyber Monday. All week, they're going to have the best deal of the year on their Beta-1 3D Glucan, the immune modulator we all do here on the Robert Scott Bell Show. So shout out to them. Also, our friends at Organics, ORGANIXX.com, RSBreports.com. You can link through and plug into all the wonderful things we've been talking with Doc Newsom about based on fulvic acid, humic acid, and different things. Last Friday, we did a discussion of endocrine disruptors, endocrine compound disruptors, and what to do about it. They're T-plex and E-plex. Look into it for the men and the women to normalize hormone function and balance. Also, we got our CBD. Those of you know about that, plus CBDoil.com. 15% off when you enter the code RSB15 if you can't get it locally at your favorite health food store. Let's see, upcoming events. Not a lot coming up. We're working on some upcoming events, but I've got the Soho show first weekend in December. In fact, I think it's the 30th of November. I'm going to be speaking with Dr. Rob McCuspy, the PhD research scientist on silver nanotechnology. And I'll be speaking about clinical utilization applications for those needing to wanting to understand that. That's at Soho Show, and that's Soho Expo for the SENPA group. Used to be the Natural Products Association Southeast. Now it's SENPA. But that's coming up, Southeast region, if you will. And then what else we have coming up? Canada. I've been invited back to the Total Health, but that's not till May. And I said, I'm gonna submit a talk or two on neurological degradation diseases. Super Don, anything I'm forgetting?
I don't think so. I think that covers it.
All right. Well, let's go to the International Toy Hall of Fame and find out what kids are playing with now. And according to this, 3 games from our history have been inducted into the Toy Hall of Fame.
I first want to say that reading these, because they do this every year, and we've talked about it off and on over the years when it happens, and it's because there's a certain amount of nostalgia that's involved here, right? But it's like part of me is distressed.
Is it? Why?
Every time that they do this, because it's like, these are the things that we played with as kids, and they're going into museums now. It's just like, man,
we should be there with them,
cool.
right? Look at those! Look at those old people playing with those things in the museum.
I have one of those,
right?
So, what are we doing in a museum?
All right, so we got 3 things that were put in. We'll go through the nominating process. Out of these, there's the Magic 8 Ball, Matchbox. I'm telling you the nominees: Magic 8 Ball, Matchbox Cars. Yeah. I love my Matchbox Cars, dude. I played for hours and hours, created all these great places. I don't think I had a Magic 8 Ball, but I thought it was cool if I went to a friend who had one. Like,
totally.
Up, right?
Those were cool. Yeah.
My Little Pony, that was after us, so we can feel good about that, or even worse about that. That stuff way younger than us is now it's potentially in that Hall of Fame too. I do remember Pez candy dispensers.
Oh yeah.
Unfortunately, back in the day, standard American diet included Pez. Let's see, Play Food. I remember Play-Doh. Was Play Food?
No. Play Food was like, and I think, I don't remember this when I was a kid. Maybe it was there, but it was like the fake plastic food. Okay. So you'd have like a kitchen, and you have like the fake food, apples and bananas.
That didn't get in apparently. The game Risk, right?
I never played that.
I wasn't much into that. I played it a couple of times. Sand. Come on, Sand not in the Hall of Fame. Playbox.
This one is the one that got me on the list because it was nominated, Sand, and I'm thinking, Sand.
Yeah.
I mean that's what. Why didn't they nominate Mud?
Yeah, right. Mud, exactly. That should be in. And then Transformers and Uno. Uno's still popular. Right. My son has Uno. I never had Transformers, but they didn't. None of those made it in. What did make it in?
The winners.
Yeah.
The winners.
Clue, Wiffle Ball, and Paper Airplanes.
Paper Airplanes.
And the kids go wild. So those are the 3. Clue, I guess, a new movie based on that game, or vice versa.
Yeah. And Clue is very popular. Now, the Wiffle Ball.
Yes.
I'm thinking, you know what? Wiffle Ball was kind of boring without the Wiffle Ball bat, though.
Yeah. How do they have the wiffle ball and not the bat?
Why are they separated? Don't they go together?
Right. I mean, you wiffle ball, you wiffle. Boy, did you ever get hit with a wiffle ball? Leave a red mark.
I did not, but I remember it's like you'd whack it with the bat as hard as you can. It would go like 3 feet.
Right. Exactly. You can play in small confined spaces, and then the bat, you can get beaten over the head with a plastic petrochemical bat. Anyway, folded paper airplanes are in, folks. Listen, we're out of here. We got a little bit of time before tomorrow night. We got the advanced medicine segments with Dr. Rasha Bittar. Stay in touch with us. RobertScottBell.com. Tell your friends the place for health, freedom, and healing liberty is right here. 2 hours a day, 6 days a week. How do I do that? Yes, because the power to heal is yours.
The Robert Scott Bell Show.
All right. Hey, Daniel, what happened to Patrick? Did we find out?
Oh no, he just took off early. I'm not sure what happened during that one break, but he just took off early when I got here.
We must have offended him. We usually offend our board ops, and they run home screaming, get out of here. I can't take it anymore. It's Christmas music and a Robert Scott Bell Show. All right. So you got some live shows coming up there?
Yes, indeed.
All right. Well, we're going to sign off in just a moment. Super Don, anything to go over?
No, we're good.
So it's either mountain biking or playing the dirt or maybe both.
Yeah, I'm going to go watch some football.
Okay, football it out. Just numb your brain, my friend.
Yes, sir. Have a good day.
Take it easy.
Thanks. All right, that's it, folks. Another successful start to the week. The Robert Scott Bell Show covering stories like, well, stories you might have heard about, but not in the way we cover them. I hope you enjoyed it. Let's see. If you got gardening ability, if you're far south enough, closer to the equator, get out there and garden or get out there outside. I know if you're in Minnesota, it's in the 30s right now. But again, for you guys, that's like shorts weather. That's just not me. Let's see if there are any comments coming through as we're about to sign off. No, it's been quiet on the YouTube gallery. So if you guys are ready to sign off and go watch football or whatever you're going to do, knock yourselves out, have a good time, take a deep breath, eat some good organic non-GMO food, and we'll be back tomorrow with advanced medicine right here on the Robert Scott Bell Show. Be there. Be here.